Welcome to Trip Ideas by Ottimo AI. Some places announce themselves from a distance. They arrive with grand monuments, busy plazas, and a list of sights everyone already knows. And then there are places that ask you to slow down first. This journey leads to 3 Spanish cities with quieter voices and deeper echoes. A Riojan capital where evenings unfold over wine and small plates. A city where Roman theatre seats still hold the shape of an ancient audience. And an Atlantic port of white walls, salt air, and streets that seem to drift toward the sea. Logroño, Mérida and Cádiz are not places to race through. They reward the traveller who wanders a little longer, sits down for one more drink, and notices how daily life moves around history. In each one, Spain feels lived in rather than staged. Cool without trying too hard. Ancient without being frozen in time. Bring comfortable shoes. Leave room for an unplanned evening. And let the country reveal itself at its own pace. Logroño whispers rather than shouts. And that is exactly its appeal. Set at the heart of Rioja, this compact regional capital is shaped by wine, pilgrimage, and the simple art of gathering well. Its streets are made for walking. The old quarter is close enough to explore without a plan, and the atmosphere changes gently as day becomes evening. The Camino de Santiago passes directly through the historic centre. You may notice the steady presence of walkers carrying the calm, reflective energy of a long journey. Around them, Logroño continues with its own everyday rhythm. Families stroll through pedestrian streets. Office workers emerge after 7 in the evening. Friends gather outside bars, not in a rush to be anywhere else. The city's great ritual begins around Calle Laurel and the nearby lanes. This is Logroño's legendary Pinchos Quarter, where an evening meal can become a slow-moving walk from one tiny bar to another. The pleasure is in the specialization. One place may be known for grilled mushrooms, another for chorizo, hot from the grill. You stand close to the counter, order something small, take a sip of tempranillo, and follow the local current to the next door. Casa Lucio is a classic stop for champiñones, mushrooms grilled until deeply savory. Bar Soriano is known for chorizo prepared with equal simplicity and confidence. The point is not to collect as many dishes as possible. It is to linger over each one, the smoke from the grill, the clink of glasses, the warm hum of Spanish conversation rising into a narrow street. In the old quarter, the Cathedral of Santa Maria la Redonda offers a different kind of pause. Its distinctive twin Baroque towers rise above the surrounding rooftops, a landmark for anyone wandering without a map. Then there is the wine. Logroño is surrounded by the landscape that made Rioja famous: vineyards, bodegas, and generations of winemaking tradition. At Bodegas Franco-Españolas or Marqués de Murrieta, cellar tours open up the story behind the glass, connecting the city's convivial evenings to the work of the countryside beyond it. Nearby Haro offers more bodega experiences in a medieval setting. For a more local window into the region, visit the Mercado de San Blas on a weekend. Here, Riojan peppers, artisanal cheeses, and other regional produce show the ingredients behind the city's tables. September through November is especially beautiful, when harvest season turns the vineyards into golden tapestries, and the air is still pleasant for long walks. Spring is another easygoing choice, with mild weather for outdoor dining and wandering. Late September brings the San Mateo Festival, when traditional celebrations animate the city. But Logroño is not only about a season or a checklist. Its lesson is quieter. A good evening does not need to be elaborate. Sometimes it is a glass of wine, a small plate, a cobbled street, and enough time to enjoy all 3. In Mérida, the past is not tucked away behind glass. It is part of the city's daily geography. This Extremadura's city holds the most impressive Roman ruins in Spain, yet it remains far less crowded than some of the country's better-known historic destinations. That changes the experience completely. There is room to stand still, room to hear your own footsteps, room to imagine the city of Augusta Emerita rising around you nearly 2,000 years ago. The Roman theatre and amphitheatre complex is the natural place to begin. Original marble seats curve toward the stage. Decorative stonework remains. The scale is extraordinary, but the atmosphere can feel surprisingly intimate. It is easy to picture an audience gathering here long ago, waiting for the first voice to carry across the open air. In summer, that connection becomes literal. The Classical Theatre Festival brings performances back to the ancient theatre, turning archaeology into a living stage. July and August can be intensely hot, but for those drawn to theatre, the experience of watching a performance in this setting is singular. Elsewhere, ancient life appears in more private detail. At the Casa del Matreo, mosaics survive in their original location. Their patterns are reminders that Roman history was not only made in temples and arenas, it also lived in rooms, floors, meals, and ordinary domestic spaces. The Temple of Diana stands remarkably preserved in the city centre. Come near golden hour, when the low light softens the stone and gives the columns a warm glow. You may find modern streets, passing conversations, and ancient architecture sharing the same frame. Mérida's layers do not stop with Rome. The Alcazaba fortress looks out over the Guadiana River, while the city's medieval presence emerges between older stones. Cross the Roman bridge around sunset, and the ancient skyline reflects in the water. It is one of those moments when the city seems to hold several centuries at once. The National Museum of Roman Art deepens the story. Designed by Raphael Moneo, it brings contemporary architecture into conversation with archaeological remains, showing that history can be preserved without becoming distant. And Mérida is not only a place to look backward. Its food culture draws from the region, while also finding inventive ways to engage with the past. Restaurante Atrio offers an archaeological menu inspired by historical research into Roman recipes. For a more casual meal, El Yacimiento serves modern Extremaduran cuisine. Spring and autumn offer the most comfortable weather for long days among the sights. March through May and September through November are especially good for walking. Winter can be quiet and mild, ideal for contemplative wandering, though some sites have reduced hours. Mérida changes your sense of time. Here, history is not something you simply visit. It is something you walk through, inhabit for a while, and carry with you after the last stone fades from view. Cádiz feels like a city shaped by light. It sits on a narrow peninsula surrounded by Atlantic water and salt marshes, with an almost island-like separation from the rest of Spain. The sea is never far away. Neither is the sense of time. Cádiz is considered Europe's oldest continuously inhabited city, and its narrow lanes hold layer upon layer of human story. Walk between the white buildings and notice the brightness. Atlantic light bounces from wall to wall. It sharpens edges, fills small squares, and makes even a quiet street feel luminous. The city's beauty is not theatrical in the way of Seville or Granada. Cádiz asks for a slower kind of attention. Begin in Barrio del Populo, the oldest neighborhood. Its streets are a labyrinth of doorways, corners, and hidden courtyards, where Phoenician, Roman, and Moorish influences have gathered over centuries. There is no need to hurry. This is the kind of place where turning down the less obvious lane is often the whole point. Above the city, Cádiz Cathedral's golden dome catches the sun and anchors the skyline. Inside is the tomb of Cádiz-born composer Manuel de Falla. For a wider view, climb to the Torre Tavira, where the camera obscura offers a full panorama over rooftops, towers, and surrounding sea. Then make your way to Playa de la Caleta. This small urban beach sits between two castles, remained right within the historic city. Swimming here feels almost improbable. Ancient streets behind you, open water ahead, and evening light turning the Atlantic gold. Cádiz is also a city of tavernas and markets. In places such as Casa Manteca, an old-fashioned atmosphere accompanies jamón ibérico and aged cheeses. At the central market, vendors display the Atlantic's daily abundance. Seafood is central to life here, and tortillitas de camarones, delicate shrimp fritters, capture the city's coastal character in one crisp, salty bite. The rhythm is set by tides and sea breezes more than by a tourist timetable. Local Gaditanos gather in small tavernas over manzanilla sherry, fried fish, politics, and football. To be in Cádiz is to learn that a city can feel deeply historic and completely alive at the same time. October through December and February through April bring mild weather and refreshing poniente winds. February is famous for Carnival, when the city becomes a vast street celebration with unmistakably Andalusian character. Summer brings heat, but also the most vibrant beach mood. Winter, with fewer visitors and comfortable walking weather, can offer an especially authentic pace. Stay long enough for the sea breeze to rearrange your plans. In Cádiz, the most memorable moments often arrive without an itinerary: a sunlit wall, a plate of fresh seafood, a gull turning above the cathedral dome, and the tide coming in below the old city. These three cities offer three different ways into Spain. In Logroño, it is through the table, tempranillo, grilled mushrooms, chorizo, and the generous social ritual of moving slowly from bar to bar. In Mérida, it is through stone, a theatre, a bridge, a temple, and the startling realization that 2,000 years can feel close enough to touch. In Cádiz, it is through the sea, the salt in the air, the bright white facades, the fresh catch at the market, and the steady movement of the tide beyond the city walls. What connects them is not a single style of travel, it is a shared invitation to resist rushing. These are places where the best memory may not be the grandest sight. It may be the hour after sunset in Logroño, when the streets begin to fill. It may be a solitary moment beneath the Roman columns of Mérida. Or it may be Cádiz at the edge of evening, when the Atlantic turns gold and the city seems to breathe with the water. For a 2026 journey, choose the Spain that leaves space for surprise. Follow the quieter streets. Order the local specialty. Cross the old bridge. Wait for the changing light. And let the country reveal its secrets slowly, like a tide reaching the shore. For more trip ideas like this one, visit our blog at Ottimo AI. See you on the next journey.
Ottimo AI. Better trips, better life.